Have you ever dreamed of leaving the 9 to 5 grind behind and retiring early, but you're struggling to make it a reality? Well, you're not alone. More and more people are starting to explore the idea of moving abroad as a way to achieve early retirement. And in this video today, we're going to dive into whether this strategy can really deliver. If this is your first time visiting this channel, welcome. My husband and I made the decision to retire early, and our channel is all about retirement and travel. Achieving early retirement can be tough, especially when you're living in a country with a high cost of living. You work hard, you save, but somehow it never seems to be enough. And even if you do manage to save a decent amount, the thought of having enough to live off for 20 or 30 years can be scary. It was scary for us. And it makes it seem as if retirement, especially early retirement, is an impossible dream. But what if you could wave goodbye to those high living costs and hello to a life that's more affordable and, in many cases, more rewarding? Now, what if you could move to a place where your money could stretch further, where you could live more comfortably on a lower income and still have enough left over to save and possibly even invest even more for your future? I know this sounds too good to be true, but trust me, it's not. We've met so many expats during our travels, and we've become friends with expats who've made the move abroad, and now they are living the dream. First, what is an expat? An expat or expatriate is somebody that lives outside of their home country. So let me take a few minutes and talk about just a few places where we have been and met expats who've retired early and are living happily in early retirement. Now, the first place I'm going to mention is close to home for those of us who live in the United States, and it's one of our favorite places in the world, Mexico. It has become increasingly popular, so the costs have went up slightly, but it's still way more affordable than the US. We met expats from all walks of life that landed there, and they've made a wonderful life for themselves. Some rent property, others have bought property. They've created a network, made friends, and created a whole new life. There are people who also bought property and running Airbnbs or renting out a casita on their property. Some have simply downsized and just learned to live off of less. Mexico has a thriving expat community, and it's easy to see why. With its rich culture, the food is so good, and the stunning beaches, it's a great place to live a relaxed and affordable lifestyle. Some of the popular expat cities in Mexico are the bustling Mexico City, San Miguel de Allende, and Querétaro, with its beautiful mild climates. The beach towns of Playa del Carmen and Puerto Vallarta are on the east and west coast, and beautiful Mérida is on the Yucatan Peninsula. I've spoken to people while we've been traveling, and they've made this move and made their retirement dream come true. And their stories are truly amazing. We've met people in Belize and Thailand who are living off of their pensions, or they're living off their investments they've made in the stock market, or they're a real estate investor and they're living off of those proceeds. Some are living on savings and doing a small part-time side hustle online until they reach the age when they can get their Social Security check for those of us who are in the US, or they can start taking withdrawals from their retirement accounts. Also, take Portugal, for example. This country has so many expats, and I know it's becoming more difficult to settle there because it is such a popular destination, but I wouldn't take it off my list. We had an amazing, wonderful time there, meeting the expats that live there. These guys had the opportunity to travel throughout Europe because now they live on the continent. And let's not forget about the healthcare. Portugal's healthcare system is ranked one of the best in the world, and it's affordable too. We have met so many people while traveling throughout the world who have retired overseas, but there are also so many examples that you can see right here on YouTube. There are people who have moved abroad and have shared their stories in interviews. Other retirees have created YouTube channels highlighting their retirement journey in their newly adopted country. I was inspired by so many of these stories. So take some time, do some research, and hopefully you will get inspired as well. Some other countries that are popular places that expats are moving to are Panama, Spain, Costa Rica, and the Philippines, just to name a few. These are just some examples of how moving abroad can be a powerful strategy for achieving early retirement. So, what can we learn from these expats? First, moving abroad can be a great way to reduce your living costs. You can live comfortably in some places for across the world for around 1,500 to 2,500 US dollars per month. Second, there are many countries and cities around the world that offer a high quality of life with a more balanced lifestyle. So don't feel just because you move to a place that's less expensive that your quality of life will go down. That's not necessarily true. It will probably actually go up. And finally, there are huge expat communities that offer support groups and activities. You can do as much or as little as you want. You don't have to be friends with everyone. Find a few close buddies and create your own tribe. Now, hopefully, you realize that moving out of your expensive home country might be a path to retire from full time work. Most of the expats that we met had few regrets. However, there are some common concerns as well. I'm not going to say that if you decide to move abroad and retire early, you will live happily ever after, like in the fairy tales. So let's look at some of those concerns. The first one that we hear over and over again is health insurance, especially for those of us who live in the United States, who are US citizens. But there are global health plans available, and healthcare costs are cheaper in many countries, and the quality is great. Another concern is visa, residency, and taxes. There are local facilitators who can assist you with these issues. Check out any Facebook expat group from that region, and they will gladly, happily share that information with you. Another big concern is just starting over. We're all getting older, and it's more difficult to make changes as we get older. So the younger you are, it definitely helps to be able to make that transition. But we met so many people in their 50s, 60s, and even in their 70s who are making the move. So it's never too late. Being away from family and friends is another concern, but there are video calls, flights, and hey, some of them may come actually visit you. And last but not least is culture shock. Be patient with yourself, give it time, and embrace the wonderful things about your new life and learn to adjust to the differences. Now, those of you who've watched my channel know that I am a big time planner. I plan everything so as much as I can. Sometimes we're moving so quickly, I don't have time to plan, so it's more spontaneous, which is more Kevin style, spontaneous. So we're great. We balance each other. But anyway, getting back, I digress. One of the things that you can do to make your transition easier is to create a plan. So think about how long do you plan to live overseas? Some people plan to live overseas forever, and some people say it's just for a short period of time. You may only want to do this until you can start your Social Security if you're in the US, other countries, and maybe some other type of pension plan that you guys have, or if you have access to your retirement accounts, you have to reach a certain age. This doesn't have to be forever. Another thing you can do is rent out your house for a couple of years and then go back home. So it's not like you've got to just totally uproot your whole life. You can go do this for a while and then just slide back into your old life. As a military family, of course, we had to do that a lot. We lived in and out of the DC area for several years or decades. And so we would leave, come back, slide back into our old life, and then leave, and then come back and slide back into our old life. So it's, you can do something like that as well. Just put your stuff in storage. That's another idea. But like we said, there's so many expats who are very happy and they have no intentions of ever going back. So you may enjoy it and never want to return. Another thing you can do, like I said, we're looking at retiring early from full time work, but you can still do something part time, side hustle. Side hustles is a way you can bring additional income, something that's online. Because in many of these places, you cannot work there and take away jobs from the locals that live there. So have your money together before you move. One of the things you can do is check out our video about can you retire early. So if you have time, check out that video. Another common concern and thing that you can do to help with your transition is the language. It's important if you can learn a little bit of the language. It really helps a lot, especially if you're going to a country where they speak very little English, if you're an English speaker. We use Duolingo a lot. There's so many apps and programs out there that you can use. I'm frugal, so I use a free version on my phone. I just do a few minutes a day. We're learning Spanish, so I'm doing that. Another thing you can do is learn as much as you can about the new country. Watch YouTube videos, get books, immerse yourself as much as you can into that culture and learning as much as you can about that culture and that new country. The most important tip, I want to say this one for last, is please visit the place that you're thinking about moving to. This is just my suggestion. You hear horror stories about people that moved to a place and they left early or they were miserable and things like that. So if you can, try to be there and visit in person. Now, some people are spontaneous; they just go with it, and whatever happens on the ground, they're just going to make it work. So if you're that type of person, you may be fine. But I would advocate, actually going and looking at the place if you haven't ever been that region or that part of the world, because sometimes it looks great on paper, but when you get there, may not be so great. So also look at doing Airbnb or renting before you buy anything. It's just my suggestion. Now, will it be easy? No, it will not be easy, and it is a lot of work. I'm just going to tell you the truth. But anything worth having is rarely easy. But many of the expats that we met said they would do anything to make sure they never have to return back home and to full time work. When we lived abroad, we had the help of the military, and it was still difficult. However, those were some of the best and most amazing years of our family's life, and we would not trade it for the world. So, all of the transitions, the culture shock, all of it was totally worth it. Those were amazing years. And I think a lot of the people that we talk to, they just love living overseas and just experiencing another culture and another way, a lifestyle. Now, it's funny how life works. We are currently here in Thailand, and I was putting the finishing touches on this video. So I took a break and went down the street to Starbucks to get a cup of coffee. And when I was there, I met another American at Starbucks, and he's traveling throughout Asia, and he's trying to find a place to retire. So I thought that was interesting. I was doing this video, and then I run into someone who's actually doing what I'm talking about. He was excited, he was nervous, but he was willing to take the leap. He's doing it the right way because he's coming out, he's spending weeks. He said he's been here for several months, I think, already. And he's just going from place to place, spending a couple weeks there, learning the area. And he wants to narrow it down and get the very best place for him. And you know what, guys? Sometimes you may get to a place and you say, I don't like this part of the city, but I like another part of the city, or you may like the adjacent country or something that's nearby. But take your time and just go with it. If you're serious about achieving early retirement, I encourage you to think outside the box and consider moving abroad. I know it's not for everyone, but for those who are willing to take the leap, the rewards can be huge. So, with the right strategy and mindset, it's possible to dream, achieve this goal of early retirement, and live the life you've always dreamed of without wrecking your nest egg. And I want to just add, just here at the end, too, is because we keep having people that we know pass, and they've worked and worked and worked, and it's your choice. I mean, some people, their retirement plan is to retire, be carried out of their job on a stretcher. If that's your plan, then that's, you be you. But for those of you who are working, ridiculous amount, just here on the elevator coming up, I'm on the 37th floor. It's like way up here. So you kind of have a long elevator ride. And I was talking with the guy who was asking us, we were American. He said that he had a friend that was working for the government, and the guy tried to retire and they talked him out of it. And this happens to friends of ours as well. If you're ready to retire, pick a plan and just do it. You can always do consulting, go back and forth to the States. We got friends that do that, expats that do that, go back to state, work a couple months, and then come back a couple weeks or whatever. But if this is something that you want to do, please make it a priority, and don't just keep working and giving away your best years of your life. So that's our video for today. Thank you so much for watching. And if you're thinking about moving abroad or already living the expat life, we would love to hear from you in the comments below. And if you're not sure if full-time expat life is for you, consider subscribing so that you can check out my next video on being a part-time expat or a slow traveler. Until next time, take care, everyone, and cherish every moment.